Welcome back to my channel. My name is Courtney, and on this channel I talk all about knitting and my love of fiber arts. So if that is interesting to you, I'd love to have you stick around. Today I'm going to talk all about everything that I've ever knit. So let's get into it. So I thought I could start by just talking about what I'm wearing first. I'll go through like all my sweaters that I've knit or tops that I've knit, and then we'll do accessories and then children's knits, I think is how I'm gonna group it. So yeah, this is the Tessellated pullover by Andrea Mowry. And I finished this, I think it was like April or May. I remember it was like barely still cold enough for me to wear it like twice before it was too hot. So yeah, I absolutely love this sweater. I think the thing that sticks out to me the most about this is that it fits so well. It fits exactly how I hoped, and I love it. So there's 2x2 rib details on the collar and the cuffs and the hem, but I've tucked it in to a skirt. But I'll insert some pictures too. But yeah, I absolutely love this. This is a sport weight gauge pattern, and I used Cascade 220 Sport in the color Natural, in the color Cinnamon Stick, and the color Azur, I think is how you pronounce it. And yeah, it was super fun to make. The pattern it's a slip stitch mosaic pattern, so it's color work, but because it's mosaic, you're only ever working with one strand of yarn per row, which is really nice. Yeah, this sweater, I flew through the body. It went so quick because it was so fun to see the colors work together, and it was my first bottom up sweater. So yeah, just getting to the point where you start to connect the shoulders and shape for the neck and all of that was really exciting. So yeah, flew through the body. Sleeves were definitely a little bit of a slog, but what sweater isn't at that point? Yeah, and I just really loved it. I don't know what else to say about the pattern. Oh, I will say, so the pattern calls for sport weight yarn, but also it calls for one strand to be like a fluffy base, so like mohair or suri, something like that. And I decided to modify it a little bit and just do all of my yarn that I used was 100% wool. It was none of it was fluffy, as you can tell. And I really like the way the fabric turned out. I love this detail here. This is a 3 needle bind off, and I just think it's really pretty. But yeah, I love the way the fluff looks on the original, but I just thought it'd be fun to switch it up. So, and also I think mohair and suri can be expensive, and yeah, Cascade 220, all of the variations of Cascade are really good budget options. So that's also why I chose this yarn. Yeah, I really love this sweater. I think next I'll talk about the first thing I ever made while knitting. And I'll insert some pictures because I couldn't find it. But so the way that I learned to knit was I randomly one day just like Googled how to knit, and I was like so convinced that I would be able to do it, that it would be super easy. And I really wanted to make sweaters for my daughters, like just make 100% wool things for them for the winter. And so I was like, you know what, I'll just learn how to knit and I'll just make them sweaters, and it'll be no big deal. Like, I'll probably save money doing it, which is hilarious. Anyways, so yeah, I looked up how to knit, and I found this random YouTube video, which I can link, that was like how to knit a hat, like from scratch, like you know nothing about knitting, And so I clicked on this video, and she lists everything that you need to learn how to knit, everything that you need to use to make a hat. So I immediately just ordered everything on Amazon and I think it came, you know, within a couple days, and I just started following this video. And so that was the first time. This was in 2021, I think it was 2021. So that was the first thing I ever knit, and yeah, it took me a while to figure it out. I remember, like, I would watch the video and I would see her hands like do a knit stitch or like do a purl, and I just, like, my mind just had no idea what was going on. Like, it couldn't compute. Like, I would watch her and then I would try to do it and I was like, it just wouldn't look the same, it wouldn't be the same. And I was so frustrated. It took me, I don't know, probably a couple tries, like just really watching and really focusing to be able to do it, because no one taught me how to knit. I mean, I guess she did, but like in person, no one taught me how to knit. I didn't know anyone that knew how to knit. So yeah, I felt like this was my only option. So yeah, I finally got it, and I made this orange hat. I used Patton's Croy. I just ordered it on Amazon too. It's 100% wool, really like cheap option. And yeah, so I ordered that, made the hat, and I was so proud of it. It's knit flat and then seamed together, mattress stitch seamed. And I had finished it, it fit my head. I was like, man, I like made something with my hands. And then it ended up in the washer. I don't know how. It was my fault, but I think somehow it got in my laundry basket, and I washed it and I dried it, and it shrunk and kind of felted. So I was so sad because that was the first thing I'd ever made, and I just immediately destroyed it. So that was a bummer. But yeah, that's how I learned how to knit, and that was the first thing that I ever made. So after that, I decided to make a sweater for my daughter. I was like, you know what? I have the basic knit stitch down. I think I can just look up everything else. So this is the next thing that I made. So this is the sweater that I made. It's actually a cardigan. And it was also kind of a flop, but that's okay. I'll put the details on the screen. I don't remember what this is called, but this is a pattern by Sandra. I don't know how to say her last name. It's somewhere on the screen. This is a beautiful pattern by her, and I thought it was so fun, the color block, and just a cardigan is so versatile. So yeah, I knit this up. I used drops something. I can't remember the name. I'll put it here too. But yeah, I really love it. I love the way it looks, but I messed up the neckline. So as you can see, it's extremely wide. Like, I mean, look at this. It's like wider than my neck, and my daughter's 3. She was like 2 at the time. So yeah, I don't know what happened here. I still don't know, and I like tried it on her after this is top down, so I was making it top down. I was trying it on her, and I was just so confused, like, why is it so wide? And so I don't know if I definitely did something. It's not the pattern. I think I just missed a step, or I just didn't have enough understanding to know what she was talking about in certain parts of the pattern. But other than that, it's really cute. It has like this garter detail at the bottom, and the button band is garter as well. And I got these cute little flower buttons that are really cute. So she has never worn this because it just falls off her shoulders, so it's really sad. But I've thought about frogging this completely and making the same pattern over, and like going over it and make sure that I know where I messed up. But yeah, my youngest daughter now is almost 2, so I think that I could make her kind of revamp this and make her a cardigan out of this. But yeah, this was the first like sweater / cardigan that I ever knit, and something went wrong. But that's okay. We all make mistakes. And then after that, I was like, okay, that was a flop. You know, 2 things so far have been flops, but I can do this. I was just determined that I could figure this out. So I decided to pick another pattern from Sandra, and that pattern was the Calendula baby sweater. And so I got some Drops Nepal yarn. I ordered it on Etsy and made this sweater, and this was my first success. It's really wrinkly right now, and it also needs to be like depilled, like shaved. But anyways, this is the Calendula baby sweater that I made for my daughter, who was about 2.5 at the time. Yeah, this sweater is super beginner friendly. It's very simple. There's no shaping or short rows or anything like that. At the time, yeah, when I had knit this was my first time. I think it was my first time. Maybe it was my second time doing magic loop, and I didn't quite like understand how to prevent ladders or like anything. So on the collar on the back, it is very wonky. I don't know what happened, but I think I just didn't pull it tight enough. Yeah, this was a big hole, and I went back in and kind of like duplicate stitched over it to make it not holy. But yeah, this sweater has gotten so much use. The only thing I will say about Drops Nepal, the yarn, is that it pills very quickly. Like, she can wear this twice and it's like so pilly, it's crazy. So I've had to shave this so many times. So honestly, I don't think I would use that yarn again, but I mean, it is 100% wool and it's a really good budget option. So if you don't mind pilling, it could be a good option. But yeah, just a super cute baby sweater. And then, let's see. I'm not sure what I knit after that, but I will show you. I made the same pattern, the Calendula baby sweater by Sandra Agel House. Anyways, I made this last year for my youngest daughter when she was like, she wore this, I can't remember what size this is, but she was able to fit in it like between 3 to 6 months. So I think I probably made probably 3 to 6 months. But yeah, this is the same pattern. This is also Drops Nepal, just in a different color, and it's so teeny tiny. It's so cute. I just love it. Yeah, it's definitely too small for her now, but it's super cute, and I will definitely be using that pattern again. It's just so easy, so simple, and it's a great layering piece for children. So, okay, so after I had made a sweater for my daughter, I decided to make a sweater for myself. And so the first sweater that I made myself was sweater number 9 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. And I was so excited to knit a sweater for myself. I ordered some yarn from Knitting for Olive, and I ordered their heavy merino and then their soft silk mohair. And I think it was the colors marzipan and not trench coat. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, I was super excited to make this sweater. This is a bigger gauge. I think it's a worsted weight gauge or maybe Aran. And also relatively simple pattern, straightforward, good for beginners. And so I was super excited to make it. And here's what it looks like. It has a beautiful neck and just 2x2 ribbing. I did long tail cast on and just a regular like standard bind off on everything. I will say though, I've worn this a lot and the neck has really stretched out. So when I wear it, like the neck is super floppy. So I am planning on putting in some elastic, and I think that'll help it like cinch in a little bit. But I love the like high neck. I've also worn it where I folded the neck down, and I think that looks really good too. But yeah, I had no issues with this pattern. It was super fun and quick to knit up. And I don't know, it was just like a really special time because it was the first sweater I ever made for myself, and it was so, yeah, just fun and exciting. And it was just like, wow, how I can make stuff with my hands and string and like 2 sticks. Like, this is crazy. Anyways, yeah. And I do remember when I bound off the hem, I bound it off really tightly, and I think I was just excited. So it's pretty tight, but it doesn't bother me that much. It's not so tight that it like hurts my hips or something. But yeah, this is a very warm and cozy sweater that I really love. And then after that, I decided to make sweater number 14. I'm trying to remember all the numbers. Sweater number 14. So let me take a sip and I'll show you. So sweater number 14 is also a pattern by My Favorite Things Knitwear. And I remember I was scrolling on Instagram and I saw someone had made, I don't know if it was the same sweater, but made a sweater in this like camel brown color. And I just was like, wow, that color is so beautiful. I love it so much. So I like went into their Instagram and found more posts about that sweater, and they had said what yarn they used, and it was Filcolana Arwetta. And I think it was Filcolana Arwetta and like a drops kid silk mohair or something. So I was like, I want to replicate what you've done. Like, I was so inspired by them. So I'll put the color name on the screen. And yeah, I really love this sweater. It is so beautiful. It has pretty big, like wide sleeves with some long ribbing and a beautiful folded collar with 2x2 rib. And I actually made this one a lot longer than the pattern called for. I can't remember exactly. I think it was like 2 to 4 inches longer because I wanted something that went past my bottom and I could wear with like, that I would be comfortable wearing with like leggings or just something super long and oversized and really cozy that I could snuggle up with. So that's why I made it so long. And there's also a split hem on this that you can see I did a very poor job on. I don't know what happened here. I think I messed up the selvage edge here, so it kind of bunched up. But I love the split hem, so the back is just a little bit longer than the front. Yeah, but again, this is a very easy, straightforward pattern. It does have short rows, so you cast on at the back and you work short rows, and then you connect shoulders later. It's a drop shoulder, so yeah, so you work the back panel and then you pick up stitches here and start to work the front, and then later work the collar. And that was my first time ever doing short rows, and I don't know why, I was like so nervous, or just like I was really intimidated by short rows. I just feel like people are always like, oh, I hate short rows, they're the worst and they're so hard, but it was not difficult at all. Like, it was so easy, in my opinion. I think short rows are generally pretty easy. So yeah, I had nothing to worry about. But anyways, yeah, loved my sweater number 14. And next up, I think it was the sweater that I made for my husband, which is the Henstolm sweater by Petite Knit. And man, this one took me a while. I think this took me over 4 months. It was just, my husband is not a super big guy, but he's really tall. He's like 6'3", 6'4", 6'3", I think. Anyways, yeah, he's super tall and yeah, just long, like he has long arms, long torso. So this sweater Took a long time, but that's okay. Yeah, this is the Handstorm sweater. Again, super, I mean, it's petite knit. It was very straightforward, like well-written pattern. I did modify it a little bit. At the collar, I think it calls for a folded collar, but my husband wanted more of like a mock neck, turtleneck vibe. So instead of folding it over, I just like knit it long and left it. So it was super easy. I sewed in a little tag. It's kind of falling apart, but, and I made this in Peer Gynt by Sandnesgarn. And this yarn, I mean, I just love this yarn. It's so hard wearing. It doesn't pill easily at all. He has worn this so many times. He wore this last winter, like once or twice a week. And I haven't depilled it since. Like, it's perfect. So I definitely recommend this as like a workhorse yarn. It is a little bit itchy, but I think it's worth it because it's so warm, and because it's more hard wearing, that's why it doesn't pill. So I feel like certain yarns, if they're softer, they're gonna pill more easily. So because this is more hard wearing, it's a little bit more rustic, it doesn't pill, which is, so it's kind of like your trade-off. Like, do you want something softer that will pill easier, or something, you know, more hard wearing that won't pill, that might be itchy? So personally, I don't find this super itchy. I've made a vest out of the same yarn, and I don't think it's itchy at all. I think my husband is a little bit sensitive to the itch factor, so take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, this is just a basic top-down raglan. There's the beautiful raglan increases. And yeah, I don't think there's anything else to say. Super simple. It's a great men's sweater. I'll definitely make the pattern again. Okay, I'm trying to think what it was that I made next. I think it was this. So this is my Moonset tee. I was wearing this in my fall knitting plans video. So yep, this is the Moonset tee by Ozetta. And it's just a really lovely V-neck t-shirt. It's just a really lovely, I love the neckline, the V-neck. I think it's just really flattering. It's not too deep. It's not too high. Yeah, I made this. The pattern calls for 1 strand of knitting for olive silk. Yes, silk, pure silk, sorry. And instead I decided to use 1 strand of knitting for olive merino. So this is definitely a little bit warmer. Yeah, I would not wear this like in the middle of summer. I would love to make this again in silk, but I thought it would be a fun transitional piece. Like, I'll wear this in the fall and winter with a long sleeve underneath, and I think it's really cute. It's pretty cropped. I made it pretty cropped, but I really like it. It has some I-cord edging, which is really pretty. And yeah, it's just a beautiful pattern. Love it. Okay, after that, I started knitting my Diona tee turned pullover. So this is my Diona pullover by Sari Nordland. And this is just such, I love this sweater so much. So I originally bought Sari Nordland's Diona tee pattern, which is the same thing, but the gauge is a little bit different and it's short sleeved. And I was just gonna make like a summer t-shirt with that. And so I ordered a Sayers Alpaca 2 for this in the color golden. And I was super excited about it, but as I started knitting it, I was like, man, I just feel like this would be more useful, because I was knitting it with, like, you know, alpaca, which is really warm, and Again, I don't know why, but I think the color is what got me. But yeah, so I just thought I just would rather have this be long sleeved. So I just modified the pattern to be long sleeved instead of short sleeved. And I think I made size 1 or 2 in this. And I think my gauge was a little bit tight, but honestly, I kind of just winged it. I did make a swatch and it was like 2 stitches too tight. So I kind of wish that I would have made a bigger size, because this is pretty, like, it's kind of fitted. It's not very oversized, which I don't mind. I think it looks really good with like jeans or with a skirt, with like, you know, wider leg jeans, because it's like tighter on the top. I don't know, I think it balances well. But I do kind of wish this was a little bit bigger, because it's pretty tight, pretty small tight. So anyways, but I really love it. I love the cables. It's a raglan all the way down, and yeah, just has twisted rib collar, folded collar, and twisted rib cuffs. And yeah, I can't wait to wear this again. It was a really great pattern. Sorry, Nordland's patterns are so clear and straightforward, and I just love her style. Yeah, so I feel like so far this is like my magnum opus, you know, because this took me a long time, all these cables, and after I finished it I was like, I'm never knitting cables again, but we know that I'm going to. So anyways, but yeah, lovely sweater, and the yarn is amazing. It's super warm, but not so warm that you can't like wear it around the house. But yeah, it's super warm. It's not itchy. It's so soft and like a little bit fuzzy. I love it. And after that, I'm trying to think what came next. I think it was my V-neck chokey vest, which I wore in my first podcast episode. And this, I also used the same yarn that I used for my husband's sweater, which is Pure Gint by Sandus Garn. And the color is 2650, which is like a gray beige. But yeah, this is a pattern by Noriko Ichikawa, and I really love this. I test knitted this for her. It's my first test knit, or my second test knit. But yeah, so fun to do, and I really love it. I just used some tortoiseshell buttons, and I love this like underarm detail. There's a little gusset on both sides, and yeah, I think this is just a lovely vest. It kind of goes over the shoulder, which I think is unique. But yeah, I love it. I love wearing it over long sleeve shirts, over dresses, and it just provides a little bit of warmth. And next is this summer top that I made this summer. This is the Peacock Tee by Lynette. Yeah, I really love this one. This one was fun. I worked on this a lot when my husband and I went to Miami for his 30th birthday, and we went to a Inter Miami soccer game. Messi, I don't know, you guys probably know who Messi is, but anyways, Messi plays on that team now, so yeah, we went to see him play. It's like my husband grew up playing soccer, so it was just like a really fun surprise trip for him. But anyways, yeah, I brought this along on the plane, and I worked on this a lot there, so it has like fun memories tied into it. But yeah, I mean, the yoke of this went so fast because, again, lace. I just love lace knitting. Is so fun. So I made this in Pearl Soho Plein Air, which is a cotton wool blend, and it was so delightful to work with. It didn't hurt my hands at all. It was great, and I just really love it. I think this is such a classic piece, and I would love to make another one in another color too. So that's my peacock tee. And then my most recent sweater that I made for myself is this one. This is my Mino pullover, Mino sweater. Also a pattern by Noriko Ishikawa. And Mino in Japanese, Mino sweater in Japanese, it means a sweater for everyone. And it's so true. Her pattern is so size inclusive. It goes from like child all the way up to, you know, full grown man. So yeah, there's tons of ages and sizes for this pattern. And I really love it. I made this in Diona Natura in the color caramel, and that yarn, or no, it's Diona Natura Ulyss in the color caramel. And that yarn is a woolen spun yarn, so it's just super light, and I love that about this. It just has such a light feeling to it. It's not too heavy. And yeah, this is a compound raglan. So yeah, just a really great fit, and I love it. It's such a simple, easy pullover. There are short rows worked at the back, but yeah, not too hard, not too difficult. Very straightforward sweater, and I will definitely be making this again. Probably one for my husband and our kids, and like every year for our kids as they get older, most likely. Yeah, this is just a pattern that I know that I will have for a long time and will get use out of. And then, so I think now I'll jump into accessories. So I'll start with some scarves. So this is the Sophie scarf. No, the Sophie shawl. Sorry, Sophie shawl. And I love this scarf so much. I love the color. Dark green is definitely probably my favorite color. So, but yeah, it's just a really basic garter scarf and super easy to wear, to throw on. I like to wrap it around and tie it sometimes. Yeah, it's even nice if it's super cold outside to if I have a hood and a jacket on, I'll do this thing to protect my mouth and nose. But yeah, I knit this up in, I think it's just called Alpaca by Sandisgarn, and it's so soft and cozy and super warm. I think, I might be wrong, but I think alpaca is a little bit warmer than just wool. Anyways, yeah, this is, as you know, a very popular pattern, and I really love it. As I'm thinking about this, I just remembered that I did make a scarf version of this with some leftover Knitting for Olive merino. Actually, the leftover from my Moonset tee. And I can't find it, so I'll insert some pictures, but yeah, it's the same thing as this but just smaller. And also, yeah, pattern by Petite Knit. Yeah, pretty straightforward, very easy. I will say that I had to focus on this pattern because you're doing decreases every few rows, or you're doing increases depending on, if you're at the beginning or the end of the shawl. So yeah, this was not a super mindless knit, I wouldn't say. It definitely took some effort. I was constantly having to look at the pattern, but it was still super easy, so I just had to be aware of what row I was on and how many rows I had knitted and when it was time for me to increase or decrease. But yeah, I'd love to make another one of these. This is just a really easy pattern. I think I'm gonna do a couple of these, or maybe the scarf version, for Christmas gifts this year. So we'll see. But yeah, that's my Sophie shawl. And then my next little thing I made is, this is called the Soul Sister scarf. And this is a pattern by Sari Nordland. And I really love this. I made this out of Filcolana Arwetta and some leftover mohair from Knitting for Olive. Actually, it's leftover mohair from the sweater number 9 that I made. So I just paired those together, and this is so soft and fuzzy and just delightful. So yeah, I think it's really cute. I love to wear this, in the winter, and just as a little accessory. Does keep my neck super warm. It's not itchy at all. I just love it. So yeah, this is a Soul Sister scarf, and again, same as the shawl. You know, this was one that I kind of had to focus on, and this was my first time doing dip stitch, which is just this really beautiful dip stitch basically. And I just watched a tutorial on YouTube, and then I had it down after like 2 rows. So it was pretty easy, but yeah, love Sari Nordland's patterns. Okay, then we'll get into hats. So we already talked about the first hat I made, which got destroyed. So the second hat that I made was the hipster hat by Petite Knit. And my husband and I went to our local yarn store, and we got some yarn that he picked out, and I made him this hat. And yeah, I mean, the hipster hat is just a super easy 2x2 pattern, very basic. I can't remember the yarn I used for this, so I'll put it somewhere on the screen. But yeah, it's really great. It's pretty sturdy, and he really likes it. I did shorten the pattern quite a bit because he likes his hats to be like, you know, ears out basically, like this, which I do too. So anyways, yeah, so I shortened it by, I don't know, like an inch. It was kind of a lot, but yeah, I just had him try it on as I was getting to the decreases and stuff, and it worked out great. So yeah, and then I made another one for myself in this lovely orangey color. And yeah, really love this pattern. I have plans to make my girls hipster hats this fall and winter, and really love it. And again, this was Malabrigo Rios, I think. And the color is like caramel, or no, the color was Dulce de Leche. That's what the color was. Yeah, and I really love it. It's super soft, but it's like so soft that this hat is a little bit floppy. Like, it doesn't have a lot of structure, which I don't really care because when I'm wearing it, it doesn't matter. But this yarn that I used is definitely more sturdy. It's not as floppy as my hat, but yeah. And then the next hat, I made another hat for myself. This is the classic ribbed hat by Pearl Soho, which I'm pretty sure is a free pattern. And this is the hat I was wearing in my last video as well. And it's just a really basic 1x1 rib with some like swirl decreases. I really like the look of. I actually kind of made this one a little too long for my taste. I like my hats to be above my ears and close to my head, if that makes sense. Like, I don't want them to be super pointy, but I don't mind it. I mean, it's a hat, it's fine. Yeah, and I used Wool Dreamers La Ricanada for this hat. And it's also, again, very woolly, very sturdy. Honestly, this is a little bit itchy on my forehead, but it doesn't like, it's not so bothersome that I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wear this. So yeah, lovely hat pattern. We'll definitely use that again as well. And then I made a couple hats for my girls. So this one is, what is this called? It's called something balaclava. I'll put it somewhere on the screen. But yeah, it's just a balaclava in half fisherman's rib. And it's pretty cool. You cast on at the top, and you basically make this like rectangle, and then you pick up stitches here and here to knit the rest. And this is a pattern by Petite Knits. This is awesome if you have little kids who want to rip their hats off as soon as you put it on their head, because this is more difficult to take off. So yeah, I really love this. I made this using a yarn from Kinsen Co. I can't remember the name of it, but again, I'll put it on the screen. Yeah, it's in this beautiful yellow. I think the yarn was Phoebe. Yeah, Kinsen Co. Phoebe yarn. 100% merino, super soft, not itchy at all. And yeah, love it. And then I made this for my youngest when I was still pregnant with her. And yeah, it was just an exciting time and it was really fun to make. This is the Anchor's Bonnet by Petite Knit. And I used the yarn Sunday by Sandnes Garn in the color Dusty Rouge. And yeah, it's just a super cute bonnet. I'll insert some pictures of her wearing it. She wore this all the time in the winter. Yeah, so their like head goes right here, and then this is the back, and there's some ties. One thing I will say, I remember the pattern, like the I-cord, I remember the suggested length for the I-cord was like super short. Like I was shocked at how short it was. And so I knit the I-cord way longer, like several inches longer on both sides than it called for. And I'm glad I did that, because I just feel like with what she suggested, it wouldn't have been able to tie super easily under her chin. But yeah, I would love to use this pattern again to like make baby shower gifts, or yeah, just stuff like that. Yeah. Okay. Now we can jump into socks. So these are all the socks I've made right here. Not a lot, but it's a good start. Okay, so this is the first pair that I ever made. These are the Lodge socks by Ozetta, I think. Lodge or something, the campsite socks or something. I'll put it on the screen. But yeah, I used some leftover drops Nepal from the 2 sweaters that I made my daughters, and just kind of winged it on the contrast. But yeah, these are definitely like house socks. They're super thick. This is worsted weight, and it's, yeah, they're great. It was like a straightforward pattern. I definitely didn't really know what I was doing, because this is my first sock ever, so they're a little bit wonky and like you can tell it's like, what is this? But you know, that's okay. So on really cold days when my feet are just like literally frozen, even in the house, I just slip these on. They're like my slippers. But I think these accidentally got washed too, but I think I saved them from the dryer, so they're not quite felted. But yeah, some chunky socks. The next socks I made are these. These are the I'm So Basic socks by Summer Lee Design Co. And which, by the way, is a free pattern and is so worth it. Like, she includes so much information. If you're a first-time sock knitter, you have to have that pattern. It is so helpful. She just like holds your hand through every single step, and that's definitely what I needed. So yeah, these are just 2x2 cuff with a classic slip stitch heel and gusset. And I used Filcolana Arwetta for this in the color Red Squirrel and Marzipan. And I wear these socks all the time. I cast on 72 stitches, and they're not like super slouchy, but they're not super tight either. So yeah, I think 72 is a good option. And then the next pair that I made are a little bit sad, and I'll tell you why in a sec. But this is also, I also used the I'm So Basic pattern. And I used some, actually I used the yarn. I used Sunday by Scarves, which doesn't have any nylon in it. It's 100% wool. And I used it for the heel. So that was my mistake, because now there is a hole, unfortunately. So yeah, I mean, I just made these 2 years ago, and the hole got there not even last year, it was the year before. So I think that what I might do is unravel these and just use the yarn for a new pair of socks, and not use, or at least not use this yarn for the heel or the toe, because there's also a hole in the toe. So, but yeah, other than that, I really love these, and I wore them a lot, as you can tell. But yeah, we'll see what happens with those. The next pair of socks I made are the Totally Rad Ribbed Socks by Summerly Knits. And I made these with a sock set that I got from Coast to Coast Yarn Co. A while back, a couple years ago. And this is the color, I think, Yucca Blossom. And this blue is the color Parrot Wax Cap, I'm pretty sure. And I just think these are so beautiful. I love these so much. I wear them a lot. Yeah, it's been great. And then the next pair of socks I made are maybe my favorites. These are the, wow, what are these called? This pattern is by This Handmade Life, and I can't remember the name, but I'll put it on the screen. And I remember I saw, I don't know if you guys know Carson Lee, she's on Instagram and YouTube, and I saw her make these a while back, and I was just inspired, so I was like, man, I gotta make myself a pair. Anyways, yeah, I used Filcolana Arwetta for these, and I just love them. They're so fun. The lace pattern is really beautiful. It's like leafy. And then there's 3x1 rib all the way down to the toe. And I just love the way 3x1 rib looks so good in socks, I think. So I really like it. And my last pair of socks I've already talked about, but yeah, this is a pattern by Fox and Folk. These are my Golden Fern socks, and I made these using Treasure Goddess Yak Toes sock yarn. And I really love this pattern. The lace is just really beautiful and reminds me of Lord of the Rings or something. I just love it. But yeah, that's all the socks I've made. So now I think I'll jump into the sweaters, more sweaters that I've made for my daughters. I made both of them Storm Sweater Junior by Petite Knit. And this is the first one that I made for my youngest daughter, and I just love it. I used Pure Ghent by Scarves again for both of their sweaters, and yeah, just a super hard wearing yarn again. Yeah, they wore these so much last winter, and I haven't had to pill it at all, depill it, I mean. But yeah, I also have this pattern in the adult version, and I have some yarn that I want to knit one for myself. I had so much fun knitting this. It was like so quick, and yeah, each panel, it just makes it go by super fast. And this is the one I made for my oldest. And I think I also made it a little bit too long. So not only is it like very wide, but it's also super long. I should have stopped after this like repeat, but it's okay. It'll fit her for like the next 2 years. But yeah, I mean, I love this pattern. I think it's super cute. Petite Knit has a lot of great kids and baby patterns, so those are really fun to make. And then next I made my daughter this cardigan. This is also a pattern by Petite Knit. This is the Novice Cardigan Mini, and I should have buttoned it, but yeah, it's just a really beautiful like round yoke cardigan. And yeah, the gauge is pretty big on this. I can't remember what it is exactly, but I used the yarn. It's called Koss by Sandus Garn. It's a blown yarn, so it's super light and fluffy and very, very soft. And then I paired that with Drops Kid Silk mohair, and I chose slightly different colors, like a darker blue and then a lighter blue, and it kind of made this marl, which I really like. And then I found some really pretty flower buttons on Etsy. One thing that I kind of messed up on this is I messed up the collar. So I don't know if you can tell, but the collar is supposed to start here. It's supposed to just go straight up from the button band and then across. But somehow I messed up the directions and it looks kind of funky. It still fits her and it doesn't like fall off her shoulders or anything, but if I make this again, which I would like to, I will just pay more attention to the collar. But yeah, it's a great pattern. And then the last thing I made for my daughter most recently, which I already talked about in my first podcast episode, is the Hannah cardigan. Hannah cardigan by Noelle Knits. And this is just a really beautiful half fisherman's rib, double knit button band. Yeah, it's just a wonderful pattern. I just feel like the details on this and the finishes make it look, you know, very like professional, I guess. Not that hand knit things are supposed to look that way, but yeah, I just think it gives it a really polished look, and I really love it. It fits her really well. So I think that's everything that I have. I think that's all of it. So that was a lot. If you have any questions about any of the patterns that I've talked about so far, I would be delighted to answer those. So please let me know in the comments. Yeah, I hope that this video inspired you to create. Definitely have made more things that I have gifted, sweaters for friends, hats and mittens galore for Christmas gifts, but I don't have those to show. Anyways, but yeah, thank you so much for watching, for sitting with me. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.